We are live. What is up, people? Here we go. Boom. Get that going. We're live. Combine day 3. I know that today is the running backs, quarterbacks, receivers. I believe the running backs are on the field. Like there's some numbers coming through right now for like the broad and vertical jumps that they're doing. But I also wanted to go back over some of the stuff yesterday because we really only talked about the corners, and I want to go through the safeties and tight ends because there's some interesting things to look at, and also I feel like some things just to talk about when it comes to the combine of like, I think some people times like overvalue it, especially when it comes to certain prospects. But what's up? What's up, Elwood? How you doing? Let people get in here because I think I'm gonna start with Nick Emenwari because he did put up a 10 RAS, like he graded elite at all the testing he did. In the vertical, the broad jump, the 40, the yard dash, the 10-yard split were all very, very good. Yeah, we'll talk about Mason Taylor as well. I'm going to get to them. I'm going to start with the safeties, and then I'll get to the tight ends. Nick Emenwari didn't do any agility testing, which I think is like, it wouldn't have been as elite. Like, obviously, he's a very good athlete, like an elite athlete on film, but I think the one area he would struggle with is more of the agility stuff. Like, he probably would have tested closer to average in that area. And the reason, like, I've seen people now saying, like, with Emenwari, like, he's a possibility at 13, which is, but people saying, like, we should take him at 13. I do think, like, you shouldn't count that out as a possibility, but for me, that's just too rich. And the reason I say this when it comes to these prospects is because when you turn on the film, you see an elite athlete. So, like, I was expecting him to come to the combine and test, like, crazy, especially in the explosiveness and the 40-yard dash, which he did. So, like, my opinion doesn't really change because I've already, like, saw him as that level of athlete. And then, like, on the film, I think, he's got a lot of good traits to work with. I actually think he's a good fit for the Dolphins specifically. Like, I like the Derwin James comp. I could see him playing in that Kyle Hamilton type of role. He's got great coverage versatility. He has that size. He can play, deep in the box. He's got slot man coverage skills. But I always saw him more as a round 2 player because there was a few things in this game that I didn't like. I thought, one, I think he's a little bit stiff. Like, he was very explosive. But when he had to, like, open up his hips and, like, hard change directions, I think there was times where he took a little bit to get out of his break. But he's got good coverage instincts. I think he's going to be a good, impactful coverage guy right away. I just have a problem with maybe, the stiffness. And then also, I think his ability versus the run and open field tackling leaves a lot to be desired. So to me, like, if I was the Dolphins, like, I think he's definitely going to go first round. Like, teams are going to definitely take a chance on him. But to me, he would be more of a trade back option, and he'll probably be gone if you trade back. So, yeah, he definitely helped himself a lot, but I feel like people end up overvaluing some of the stuff we put up, especially when it's like, if there's someone that puts up insane numbers that you weren't expecting, then you go back to the film, you look at the film and you're like, oh, did I just missee it? And then sometimes you did. Sometimes it's just like, oh, maybe he's just a good tester. With people like this, where they do exactly what you expect, I don't think your opinion should really, if you do watch film, like, your opinion shouldn't really change on someone like Nick Emenwari, like, especially like if you saw him as an elite athlete on film. Obviously, he tested the best, like, ever at safety, but sometimes these guys don't always, work out. So for me, I would not take him at 13, but he definitely did a great job testing yesterday. Like, he put up under 4.4 speed. Yeah, he had like a 1.53 10-yard split. Vertical and broad jump were absolutely insane. But, like, really, we're like some of the, like, I still have Malachi Starks as the safety one for sure. And even though he didn't, like, maybe put up insane numbers when it came to, like, he had a low vertical jump. His 40 was a 4.5, which is solid for a safety. But really, it's some of the drills, and I might have some of the clips to show later, but how he looked in the drills, and he was so smooth. And he was the fastest moving guy in each drill. Like, his miles per hour is the highest. He reached the highest peak in each drill. And you can just see the natural movements, because those movements translate better than I think just running a straight line 40-yard dash does, because those are actual football moves that you are going to be using on a play-to-play basis. How far down do you think Nick can drop? I could see him going in, like, the 20s, but I imagine he's probably, oh my god, that was loud. I imagine he's probably going to go in, like, the, like, 18-ish range, if I had to guess, somewhere around there, maybe like 15. I could see him going top 15. I wouldn't be that surprised, especially in this class. But for me, I still, I think some of the safeties that made themselves were big winners because, like, obviously he puts up insane stats, but there's people that you have bigger question marks with. I think Andrew Makuba and Billy Bowman Jr. did themselves some good work because they tested well and they ran fast, which I think is big for them because their film's really good. They're really instinctive, kind of, smaller safeties that play with physicality. Those guys, I think it's more important for them to test well because when they test well, that just, I think, gives teams more comfortability with taking them because, everyone already expected Nick to test well, but I think those guys testing well definitely helps them out. Jonas Sinker also had a good day. He ran a 4.48. Pretty good, pretty good vertical. Good. He had a really good broad jump. Came in at pretty solid size, 6 foot 200. He's a guy I like in the mid rounds. That was, I think, he was about expected though for around what he got. So I like that. But Starks, yeah, right here I have next gen stats pulled up for Starks. He had in the short shuttle he reached the top speed. In the gauntlet drill he reached the top speed. In the line drill he reached the top speed. W drill he reached the top speed. The Terrell Austin drill he reached top speed, which I think is actually a better telling of what they are as players. Because I don't think Emanwari did any of the drills. I believe it was just the 40 and the vertical and the broad jump because he knew he was going to do really well in that stuff. And then we'll get to some of the other numbers. Here is here's Starks in one of the drills. Right here, you can just see he looks so he just looks super smooth, getting in and out of his breaks. Hard sell, getting out of that turn right there, and he's got the great ball skills. Attacks the ball at its highest point. To me, this is just a better telling of defensive backs that translates. So I'm still gonna have Starks as safety 1. But to me, he's going to be a guy that probably might fall a little bit. He was already kind of falling in the eyes of some of the people that do mock drafts anyways. And he's just the type of player that ends up just being a steal. Nick may go to the Seahawks. Yeah, I do think he's a good fit for Seattle. Seattle runs this very similar scheme to Miami. I've seen people compare him to Cam Chancellor. I kind of see more Derwin James than Cam Chancellor because Chancellor was definitely a bigger hitter and a more of a force in the run game. I think Emanwari misses too many tackles for that. I think I see more Derwin James with the coverage versatility stuff. But man, some of the numbers were rough. Gunnar Helm had a rough day. I'm obviously a Gunnar Helm fan, but those numbers were not good to put up. He ran a 4.840, which is, I think, I didn't expect him to run fast, but you got to at least put up a 4.7. I think that's gonna really hurt him. There's certain people that get really get hurt, and that's, I think, one of them. He did do decent enough in the agility drills. He at least put slightly above average agility numbers, which definitely should help him. But Harold Fannin didn't run the fastest 40. He ran a 4.7 340, but he did put up really good numbers. His 10-yard split was pretty good. So the agility stuff, the burst stuff definitely, I think, is a better thing for him. I always think the short area athleticism is always more important for tight ends anyways. It's very rare you're going to see them running straight line for 40 yards speed anyways, unless no one's in front of them. Usually it's more change of direction, working the middle of the field type thing. So I think that will help him a lot. Terrence Ferguson, he's another guy I do like for Miami. He probably raised his stock. He ran a 4.63 40. He had a really good vertical, very good broad jump. He's one of the better athletes. And I think he's one of the guys that's got good size to him too. I think he has the frame and ability, the want to play wide tight end, which that's what we're looking for Miami. You're looking for a wide tight end, someone that can get in line, block, consistently. Ferguson does not quite have the best blocking ability. There's some flashes of blocking, but I don't think it's a consistent level for him. I think he'll make more of an impact as a pass catcher early on. He's got good hands. I think does obviously the athleticism, very good acceleration speed. I think he can make some plays after the catch. So Ferguson's a name to know. I think that was kind of expected. There's some guys in here that we'll get to that I haven't even but yeah, Gunnar Helm had some really bad numbers. That sucks. Mason Taylor, the gauntlet. Taylor didn't run, but man, Taylor probably with how some of the other guys tested that were in that range and the top guys didn't test. I feel Taylor with how comfortable he looks. He didn't go out there and ruin his stock with any 40 testing or anything. He probably is gonna get looked at as a pretty clear top 5 tight end in this class, and he's very smooth. I think he's gonna be a guy that he's another guy that has the wide tight end frame. He came in at pretty good size. There is some there's flashes of blocking on there that is he shows some good flashes, but it's not a consistent thing with him at all. But his receiving ability, very good hands, rarely drops the ball, makes clutch catches, body control, balance. He's a pretty solid player after the catch. Very smooth mover, very good against zone. I feel like Taylor's going to make an impact in that area for whatever team he ends up going to. He's definitely one of the tight ends I'd be good with the Dolphins taking. But yeah. Taylor, Ferguson, those are names that we've talked about a bit that I think helped themselves. I know a lot of the O-line. I feel like every O-lineman, though, today, they came out in their interviews and said like they met with the Dolphins. Like, I think it was like Charles Grant, Armand Membeau, Gray Zabel, Kelvin Banks Jr. They all were like saying they met with the Dolphins. A tight end that we have not talked about that I want to get into. I did not see anything from Haas. Maybe he did. I will check it out. But another tight end, we really, I don't think we talked about him at all because I didn't have any film on him, but I found some film. So I started watching some film last night. I still need to see more. But he tested really well. And he has he's 260. Jaylen Conyers from Texas Tech. He started at Arizona State. He hasn't had that many college career starts. I only think he had 4 or something. But he's 260. Tested super well. And he is known for his high-end athleticism. You see the athleticism on the film. And he makes some high-end receiving plays. It's not always consistent. But his last year, he actually showed some decent blocking. And he has the frame that if you can, teach him some better technique, he's someone that in the middle rounds, late rounds that I wouldn't mind taking a chance on. And he's also out there he's not how Tyler Warren takes wildcat snaps? There's snaps of Jaylen Conyers playing the wildcat quarterback as well, and him running the ball, him throwing the ball. He threw a touchdown pass when he was at Arizona State. Apparently he played high school quarterback as a freshman, sophomore. To me, he's kind of this right here, here he is, 12 for Arizona State, him running the ball. He's a very good mover, and he's listed at 260. That's a frame to work with. Here he is throwing the ball at Texas Tech. And his film, from what I've seen so far, actually looks pretty intriguing. And there's some flashes of blocking in there. It's not perfect, but better than probably most of the class. So I'm probably going to make a film breakdown on Conyers eventually, but he's someone to keep an eye on because I have his thing pulled up. He had a 35.5 vertical, 10.1 broad, which is great in the RAS stuff. He's listed at 6'3.5", 260, so he's not the tallest guy, but that's not a super big problem. But he's listed at 260, so he's got a nice frame. Ran a 4.740, a 1.65, 10-yard split, which is good for a tight end, and had a really good shuttle and 3-cone, which I actually think is the most important. I think to me, more important than the 40 is the 10-yard split, the agility stuff, and I even like the explosive stuff from vertical and broad. And he had some of the better shuttles and 3-cones of the day. And his overall relative athletic score was 9.24. But that's a name to know. Oh yeah, the running backs are running. Oh, let me see. Okay. Right, if Miami makes a big-time trade, hypothetically, let's say for Marlon, does this prove Miami can't develop some of these secondaries that they have to get established guys? I don't think it proves. I don't know if that's what proves it. Because the Dolphins have done a decent job developing some UDFAs. They've gotten decent development out of Kader Kohu. Some of the guys that you maybe didn't expect to make the roster, Ethan Bonner, Storm Duck, you've seen playing time. Maybe it's less about development and more about just getting the right players in there because they have missed on some of the higher end picks that they've made. So I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the thing for that. Elijah Arroyo didn't test. I believe he's hurt. His speed and his racism? What are you doing? I think you have a typo there. But I just talked about Nick Emenwari. I don't see him. I don't see Emenwari. He could go top 10 with the athleticism, but I will talk. I think. I do want to say I don't think the Dolphins should take him at 13. I know I've seen some people on Twitter talking about him at 13. To me, he was already an elite athlete on tape. And to me, when you see an elite athlete on tape and they tested an elite athlete on at the combine, that shouldn't change my opinion on him. And he didn't do the agility drills either, which I think would have hurt him because I think if there was one thing he kind of struggled with at times was his stiffness and change of direction. I think he's really explosive, really fast. But that's a good time for DJ Giddens. Jadon Blue only ran a 4.4. Giddens ran a 4.43. That's really good for him. But to get back to Emin War, I think my opinion doesn't really change for him, but he'll probably go higher than I would be willing to take him. I think he's a good coverage guy. Lacks the ability versus the run and his open field tackling. See what Ollie Gordon runs. This is probably big for him too because he's a bigger back. Some of the running backs had some pretty nice explosiveness things. 4.61. That's kind of expected for Gordon. He's not the fastest guy. CJ Dupree, he tested well. I know that. I'm not the biggest fan of his tape. I wanted to like it more, especially for a guy that's got pretty good size. Like I just wish he was a better blocker. And I just think there's other guys out there that, that give you more as a receiver, and like the guys that give you more as a receiver are just, maybe don't have the blocking ability, but either does Dupree. And then there's also guys out there who's just better blockers. So like to me, he's just like a late round maybe throw. I don't see anything on Malik Carr. I just looked it up, so I don't know if he tested. Hampton ran a 4.47. That's good for Hampton because he's a bigger back as well. He looks explosive. His 10-yard split looked pretty good there. I wonder what his 10-yard split was because I think 10-yard split is more important for running backs because it's all about that burst. Guy's running with his eyes closed. Yeah, I just answered that, Anthony, kind of. I think he could enter top 10. Personally, I would not. I still don't think he's going to go that high, and I wouldn't take him top 10 because if you like, he's already looks like him and Shamar Stewart already look like elite athletes on tape. So like your opinion, I don't think that team's opinion should change. RJ Harvey ran a 4.41. Good numbers here for these backs. Yeah. Oh yeah, Mason Taylor. If Mason Taylor can improve his blocking, he's definitely one of the better options in this class. And he is one of the more willing blockers. It's just a consistency thing. I don't think he's going to make an impact for you year one. That's why I still really just want Tyler Warren because I think Tyler Warren just makes an all-around impact for you year one as a receiver and a blocker. Not a perfect blocker, but I think he makes an all-around impact. I think Taylor would make an impact right away as a receiver and maybe have some good reps as a blocker, but for the most part, it wouldn't be pretty. It'd probably take some development. But he does have the frame, I think. But yeah, Taylor looked very good on those drills. I'm a big Mason Taylor fan. He's in my top 5 tight ends in this class. I probably will have him 4, actually. But yeah, Jaylen Conyers, Texas Tech, name to know at tight end. Henderson ran 4.43. A lot of these guys running 4.4s at running back. Texas RB is fast. Yeah, he ran a 4.4 flat, but I thought he was going to run like a 4.3. So he didn't run as fast as I expected. But Jadon Blue, yes, he is very fast. He's one of the fastest guys on tape, at least. Oh, they're showing McDaniels in the stand. I actually think one of the more surprising players that I saw, like one that actually like genuinely was like, oh, I didn't see that on tape, was Hunter Wohler, the Wisconsin safety. So I went back and watched him last night because I hadn't watched him in a bit. And I guess my notes actually did kind of match what I was talking about because I said he had some limited long speed. I believe he ran like a 4.57, which is not bad for a safety. But I did write he had good short area athleticism. But like he tested really well in short area, which is nice to see. And I watched back the film and I'm like, okay, yeah, he actually is a pretty good moving athlete, pretty smart. I do still think he's more of a box safety type. Maybe not like a back end, not a single high guy. I think he can play some like split field looks. But I did think I enjoyed his film more on this second watch. And I think the testing definitely, it allowed me to get another look on him. So I think Wohler's a guy that like more in those mid rounds, like, yeah, I'd definitely be down for Wohler. So just another name to watch out for at safety. And, it's definitely a need and could be looking at it at like all sort of rounds. Here was Ferguson's gauntlet. If you guys never saw it, we just saw Mason Taylor's. I thought Taylor probably had like the cleanest one. Ferguson, I believe, looked pretty good as well. I know Gadsden looked good, but I still don't. I like Aronde Gadsden as a player. I just don't like his I don't like his fit for Miami. Caleb Johnson ran a 4.58. Honestly, that doesn't surprise me. I know some people expect him to run fast, but like when I've been spending a ton of time watching the Iowa or running backs this cycle, but when I've watched him in passing, he didn't seem like that fast. Wasn't Greer just there? I know he didn't speak, but I thought they just showed on the screen. I thought McDaniel was just talking to Greer, but I only looked at it for like a second, so maybe I missaw. But it looked like that's what McDaniel was, who he was leaning over to talk to, but yeah. Yeah, Ferguson's also another good receiver. Ferguson and Taylor are kind of like in the same boat for me. I have Taylor over Ferguson, but they're in that same boat where like they have the size to be wide tight ends, and I think they can potentially develop into blockers because there is some reps of them doing that, but it's just not clean right now. So I don't think I would expect a year one impact much as a blocker from them. I think Edwards ran. I didn't see Martinez. Judkin's about to run. This is a big one. Judkins, bro, we'll look at, I think I have his broad and vertical save, but he had some insane broad and vertical stuff. Let's see what he runs. Judkins, show me what you got. 4.48. I think that's good for Judkins. Because, dude, Judkins is probably the running back that's testing better than I thought he would. Because I didn't see that quite on tape, so I'll have to go back and watch him. Yeah, that's probably what it was, Scotty. Because I didn't know if he was going to be there or not either, but I just assumed he probably didn't want to talk to the media. Yeah, Anthony, I don't think they're going to draft him in round 1. I think round 2 is anything's possible. I think round 1, they're probably going to, I think they're more going to focus on defense. But I think round 2, they drafted an alignment in round 2 last year, so I think they're definitely willing to do it round 2. Round 1, I don't think O-line's the best value. Yeah. Dude, I think Kelm's probably going to go day 3 now, because I know I say, like, don't put a ton of stock into the combine, but there are certain thresholds you need to meet, like, and he went, like, way below those thresholds, so I think the NFL values that stuff. Like, there's certain things, like, you have to at least meet, and, like, tight ends, like, not running in the 4.7s is typically not a good sign, especially when he came in listed at 241. So, wouldn't be surprised to see him even go like around 5. But yeah, also, I don't know, you guys have, there's this tight end from Nebraska. He tested really well. Thomas Fadone II. He is a very interesting player. He's not one I love for Miami because I think he's more of a receiving tight end, but he's had a lot of injuries, I believe. So he hasn't really but like when he came out, like he was like the top tight end prospect out of high school or something, or one of them when he came out. And you can see it on film. Like, he moves super well on film, but I just don't think he's played much because of injuries or something like that. But he looks very comfortable. Like, he's a player that I wouldn't be surprised if he produces more at the NFL level. Because he's listed at, like, 6'5", 243. He has long arms, really good, like, explosive stuff. Like, here's a clip from him. This is one I found on Twitter. And you just see how natural of a mover he is, like very explosive, running through some tackles. I don't think I saw anything from his blocking, and he does, and maybe he's a better blocker than I would think, but yeah. Looks like Ferguson ran the fastest 40, 4.63. Yeah. Definitely not the greatest, like the tight end group did not test very well. Like overall, they did not test very well. And to be fair, the top tight ends didn't even test, like Loveland, Warren, Arroyo, which I think a few of those guys would have tested pretty well. Just because he doesn't perform well in the combine, he plays faster than he actually performed. Yeah. Yeah, the problem is, like, the relative athletic score actually has done a pretty good job of predicting tight end success. There's certain positions it doesn't do a good job. but any tight end that's ever had below a 5 RAS has never had over like 750 receiving yards. And Helm was one that had under an RAS or under that RAS threshold. So to me, I would still take Helm, but like you got to think he's probably going to be more of a tight end 2 type of player at the next level, which I think is fine. Like there's definitely a role for that. Like, and I'm not mad about it if the Dolphins can end up taking him later on. I don't see him going round 2. Not running a 4.8 unless it comes out that like he was doing it injured or something, which is a possibility. But yeah, a lot of the Dolphins, because the O-line got interviewed. Yeah, hey, Scotty, I hated to hear it too. You know I'm a Helm fan. But that's just, you got to take the analytics. You know, I'm a big film guy, but you got to take the analytics into part of the discussion. And I'm just thinking of how the NFL will see it, you know, not necessarily what I would think. But who knows? Maybe you get him later now in the draft. But yeah, Dolphins met with a lot of O-linemen. Armand Membeau said he had a formal meeting with the Dolphins. He called it fun. Gray Zabel was like really excited about the Dolphins meeting. Like said he raved about it. Membeau also said like some teams think, he said most teams think he can play tackle, but he has guard flexibility, which I agree with. So that's nice to see. Dolphins also met with Marcus Bowe. They're meeting with all the guys I like. I really like Marcus Bowe. They also met with Kelvin Banks. So it seems like they're just meeting with all the O-linemen, which to me feels more like a smokescreen, because I feel like when the Dolphins meet with a ton of people from like the same position, they never end up drafting that one early. They at least end up going with it a little bit later. What did Devin Neal run? 4.6. I think that's pretty accurate for Devin Neal, because I always thought Neal was not the fastest guy in film. Yeah, definitely some interesting stuff. Here's the Bashal Tootin, the Virginia Tech running back, had a very good vertical. So did Cam Scatabo. Scatabo had a 39.5-inch vertical, which is actually like, I feel like when you see his leg explosiveness on certain cuts, that one makes sense to me. I think Judkins at third most was a little surprising because I didn't always see that explosiveness, but Devin Neal had a good one. Marcus Yarns. I'm about to make a video on Marcus Yarns. I like Marcus Yarns. Yeah, they met with like all the O-linemen. Raheem Sanders ran a 4.47. Brashard Smith's about to run. SMU running back / receiver. I posted a video on him. I think I made that video public today. I'm excited to see, dude. I feel like probably Savion's probably gonna go crazy today. Brashard Smith ran 4.42. That's good for him. Savion Williams probably about to go insane because he's a freak. The combine's probably, he's one of those players that the combine's gonna help, like how it's helping Shamar Stewart and Nick Emanwari, who, you know, there's question marks on the film with them. Like they have good film. Same with Savion. Like he has some good film, but also has some question marks. But I'm sure that will help their stock. But to me, those are the players that, like, if they get pushed up too much, I'm just not gonna be involved. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on with all of those groups. Yeah, it was nice to, I think a few guys that kind of, the guys that I hadn't seen much of, like, or they like kind of surprised me, were like Hunter Wooler at safety. He moved better than I thought, and then I went back and watched the film, and I'm like, okay, I can see it. I can see those movement skills better now. I've spent more time watching the film. He's a guy that I've definitely become a little bit higher on. Not like crazy higher, but he's a guy that I'd be more willing to take in those mid rounds and with that sort of safety group. I think Billy Bowman's another one, Oklahoma safety. He tested well, and I always liked his film. So good to see that. Some guys who stayed in that range, like Jonas Sanker. So that's always nice to see. Same thing with, there was corners too. The corner class, a lot of them tested really well. Johnny Barron, Maxwell Hairston, Jacob Parrish, those are a lot of my guys. So nice to see them performing. I know people will talk about Darian Porter going crazy to me, he's another guy that kind of goes in that vein where like I think he's going to get pushed too far up for my liking. Yeah, multiple growing strains of meniscus strain. I'll have to look it up. And then at tight end, I think someone who caught my eye, Jaylen Conyers. I've heard about him. I know there were some people like saying that he was a sleeper. I just hadn't had film yet, so I found some film. I can definitely see it. He kind of is in that vein of like, he actually kind of, I feel like he even kind of moves and plays like Terrence Ferguson in this class. And he's also got good size to him at 260. There's the flashes of blocking on the film. So to me, if there's a guy you want to like, take a chance on, potentially try to develop, while I actually think can develop because he has the tools, is Conyers. So I like that. And he's the type of player you're looking for. Still like a lot of the other guys. Some of them didn't get to quite test. Mason Taylor stood out, which I think is expected, especially in like the what's it called drill, the gauntlet drill. Definitely expected Taylor to do well in that because he's got good speed and he's got very good hands. I think guys that like can play fast to the catch point always do good in those drills. Oh, let's see what Tootin runs. 4.38. Yeah. Tootin's interesting, man. The Virginia Tech running back. I actually think he's a really good scheme fit for Miami. As a pure runner, but like he doesn't do much as a receiver, and he is also what's it called? He fumbles a lot. Marcus Yarns 4.45. He's another guy. I'm about to make a video on him. He's a good fit for Miami. If you like a late round guy, if you're looking for like another guy that can do some Devon Achane stuff, that's him. Because Yarns and Smith are both guys who are they're also doing some workout as receivers. And they do a lot of good receiver stuff on film. Oh, Jadon Blue's moving this time. 4.39. There you go. A little bit faster. Tootin running the fastest. Taj Brooks ran a 4.53. I think that's good for Brooks. 4.5 area. Good timings. But yeah. What do you guys think? You guys have any surprises? Maybe the guys that weren't like at the outside of the super obvious ones. Any position that we've seen so far. Oop, he might have. I didn't see it. I can look it up. I don't know how do you spell his first name. Nah, I don't see it. Maybe he didn't run. Donovan Edwards ran 4.45. I was surprised Caleb Johnson was expected to run so much faster. Kind of scrolling through. Yeah, and sometimes these 40 tests can be like Johnson maybe moves faster on tape. DJ Giddens, I thought wasn't going to run that fast either. Those are, you got to take all the 40 stuff, all the combine stuff with a grain of salt anyways. And let's see. Here's a nice report because this is Corey Kinnan. This is his on Daft on Draft football stuff. He's a good follow on Twitter if you're into the draft stuff. But he's in Indianapolis, so he said what I heard during a busy week at the NFL Combine. So we're gonna go through this. He says Alabama linebacker Jahad Campbell isn't getting out of the top 20. He said that was like one of the players he heard the most about. He said, I was told by one team picking in the top 20 that they will sprint the card up there if he's on the board when they come on the clock. So that is interesting. He said, everybody loves Texas DB Jahdae Barron. That makes a lot of sense. He ran fast and is a very smart player, and he has very good versatility. signing Aaron Rodgers wouldn't stop the Giants from trading up to 1. He said Justin Fields free agency rumors. Doesn't seem anything to do with Miami. He said James Pierce Jr. may fall further than you could imagine, which, there's some stuff with being seen as uncoachable. People were actually excited when he left Knoxville, Tennessee. They were ready to see him go. But he said, I was told by one scout that Pierce Jr. is seen as the player with the worst character report of any player in this draft class. So that's something to keep note of. He says Jalen Milroe is still viewed as QB3. Interesting. I mean, that's kind of all the stuff. So definitely interesting to hear those reports. Where does Kentucky cornerback go now? Yeah, he's another one that could get pushed up. I actually thought of him as a round 2 guy. And in this draft class, once you get past like the top 15, I feel like the second half of round 1 can go in so many different ways. So he's probably a guy that will get pushed up into that back half of round 1 because he has good tape. Like, he has good film. And, running that fast, all the other stuff that he was doing, that's going to help him. And corner is one of the positions where I think the 40 matters more than anywhere else, so he will definitely get some love. From UCF, I haven't seen anything on him. Boom. Definitely interesting to see those reports. So I wonder what all the combine meeting stuff means. I feel like the Dolphins, making it like this is pure speculation, but the Dolphins, haven't always. Usually, I feel like their first round pick is usually not someone like they formally met with. There's definitely examples of them meeting with them, but I feel like everyone knows Dolphins need O-line. Like, other teams are going to know the Dolphins need O-line. So I feel like they're like trying to sell like they're going to go O-line in round 1 with all the guys they're meeting with and then probably go somewhere else. So maybe they make teams panic, take O-line earlier than them, trade up in front of them for O-line. RJ Harvey, pretty good times for RJ Harvey. He's one of the better running backs in this class. That Chip Kelly, yeah. Yeah, it is. I'm excited for free agency to happen so we can like really figure out, just have a better idea when draft rolls around of people the Dolphins might be interested in. How about D Walker and D Alexander? Big fan of Darius Alexander. I really like him. Deion Walker is just one of those players that I think I would let someone else take a chance on. And just like watching him move around his drills, he's very top heavy. Like, for a guy that's so big, like listed with his weight, like he has some pretty small legs, which I think I would prefer the opposite. I would prefer a guy who's, a little thicker in the lower half with a like leg strength, leg drive, and he plays too high. It's just the inconsistency on the film. Like, he could be good, but that's just one of the guys like, unless he falls farther than expected, I let someone else take the chance. I'll take a different player that I also still think is good, that I think has a better chance of, meeting that. Jarquez Hunter ran a 4.45 the first time. Let's see what he runs here. Woo-hoo. Yeah, basically the same 4.46. Oh, David Walker. Gotcha. Yeah, sorry. I do like David Walker. I think, did he test? I don't remember seeing his numbers, but I do like David Walker. Just to talk about him specifically. He is from Central Arkansas, very productive player. I think he plays, he has that natural leverage because he's a bit shorter, but has some good weight to him. I think he does a really good job converting speed to power. To me, he's one of those guys that might go later than usual. maybe later than he should just because of being a small school guy. But I like taking chances on these productive players that, just know how to get after it. And I think he's got good speed and lateral agility and plays with some bend. I think he knows how to use his hands. So yeah, I do like him quite a bit as a player to definitely go after. If you're looking for edge, obviously. Jordan James running a 4.55, 4.55, 4.55 both times. Woo, woo. Raheem Sanders had the highest miles per hour ran there. 23.55. Those guys are moving. I know you're saying, yeah. I am surprised Giddens ran that fast. Because I always thought Giddens had pretty good lateral cuts. I don't think he runs that fast on film. I do have to rewatch Judkin's film now because he definitely did better than I expected. And to be fair, I haven't watched the running back class. I know it's very deep, and I've watched it a little bit of each guy. But I haven't spent a ton of time on those guys because I just don't think running back's a huge priority. But it wouldn't surprise me to see them end up drafting one. Joining a bit late, but if Membo and Banks are gone by 13, any defenders you consider at 13? I was disappointed by Kenneth Grant managing only 22. Would Barron be a reach at 13? Well, one, even if Membo and Banks are on the board, there's still definitely defenders I'm considering. I'm probably taking many defenders over Banks, at least a few of them. And then Membo, he would be in the discussion for some of these other guys. But, yeah, I still think, I know Kenneth Grant on the bench. Sometimes guys with longer arms struggle to bench press, but I would have liked to see more from him as well. He's still someone that I think is in play at 13. He's not one of my favorite options. I think there's other corners that are in play. I think obviously, I think there's a world with how Mason Graham, weighed in, and some of the other stuff and his arm length, he could fall. Mason Graham would be a top option. I think Will Johnson as well, Michigan guy. They would be in play. I still think Malachi Starks is a potential option. I think a sleeper option is someone like Jahad Campbell. I wouldn't even be surprised if they're interested there. I think the Dolphins might like Michael Williams, but I wouldn't go in that direction. And Jahdae Barron, for me specifically, I'm a huge Jahdae Barron fan. I would 100%. Some people might see it as a reach. For me, it wouldn't be a reach. I think it's probably would be one of the safer picks that they could make. He would fit right into what you wanted him to do. He could play inside. He could play outside. I think he'd be an instant impact. Very smart. He tested very well athletically. He came in with short arms, but as long as you're not asking him to play, bump and run press man a whole bunch of times, which the Dolphins don't really do that, then I don't think it's really an issue. But yeah. Jahdae Barron would be one that's kind of maybe a little bit of an underrated sleeper pick, but probably the one I would like the most out of those underrated ones. Go Jacks. Hey, I hope they do better. I know they just started over, right? Liam Cohen, those types of. They got a young front office over there now. Guys from the Rams. Definitely some guys changing it up. I know, yeah, Gadsden, I think, because we haven't talked a ton about Gadsden, because, obviously, his dad played for Miami. I just see him as a big slot. I just see him as a receiver only, and if that's what you want, then sure, but I just don't see him as, he's not a fixed-tier tight end problem. He doesn't play in line. But he looked really good in that gauntlet drill. Hey, if I saw that he's potentially available, fair is fair. If this is an option and it's a 5th round pick, I would be all over that. I do Michael Mayer would be a great value at that spot. I know he missed some time this season. I can't remember what it was. But he would definitely be for a 5th, I would take those stats. Or take that chance. Thoughts on Maxwell Henderson? I'm a fan. I even before the combine, I really liked him as a day 2 option for for anyone. But I really like his film. Like I have written down my notes right here. I got really good short area quickness, plays with excellent instincts, very comfortable from off man and zone coverage. Did play a ton of press man, but looked really good in press man at the Senior Bowl. I feel like he can play. He can play outside and inside. Has good ball skills. He plays with some scrappiness. Understands how to like squeeze leverage and windows and zone. Plays with good feet. Can play with top down. He's very good versus double moves. Can mirror and match. Sink some hips. Not the biggest guy, so but I think that speed could really help him. Play on the outside. And then obviously he tested super well. That might bump him up to be seen as a first round guy, but to me he's going to go in that like late 1, early day 2 range. But I'm a big fan because the combine stuff matches the film. Yeah. Definitely one of my favorite corners. Oh, Damian Martinez ran a 4.51 on his second 40. That's pretty good for Martinez. 4.51. I think you take that all day if you're Martinez, especially at his size. Because I think that was one of the question marks with him. And for a running back, 4.5 is all you need. There are certain positions where I think you can run a little bit slower. I think the 10-yard split really matters for running backs because burst is so important. Burst is way more important than long speed. How hard can he hit the hole? They're flying through these. There we go, Brashard Smith. Brashard Smith, 4.39. I posted a video on him today. If you're interested in watching a running back that's very explosive, very athletic, that could also be like a receiver piece. Hope he's there at 36 for my Jags. Yeah, he might not be after what he ran at the combine, but you never know. But that would be a good pick. Because I remember when the Dolphins played the Jags week 1, they definitely needed corner help, and I imagine that probably continued throughout the season. Let's see what Tune's got. Oh, no. I can probably, let me actually go to this. Boom. Change this up. I also made it's a members only video right now, but Kane Madrano, that was the guy we talked about the other day. He was another one that I really liked how he looked at the combine. So he was the guy I had to check out. Decent amount of guys in this class that I definitely took a look at that I hadn't had a chance yet, and he was one of them. Him, Conyers. I got to watch more of Hunter Wohler. He's someone that I think kind of raised in my mind. And there's some guys that just like kind of stand that. Oh wow, he went from 4.38 to 4.32. There you go, Tune. I don't know if Jack Besh is testing. I'm imagining I don't know. I don't know if he's like, I don't know if he's going to run that fast because I don't think that's his game. But we'll see if he does. He could do some of the other stuff. I hope to see him do like the gauntlet drill and stuff because I feel like he'll look better in that type of drill than a straight up 40. Tune's a weird one, man. I really like him as a runner, but he has a lot of career fumbles. Ooh, flashbang. Yeah, Amara and Hampton had a good day. He's at a 9.93 RAS. That's with no agility stuff yet, but doing that at 221 is really impressive. He's gonna go high. I wouldn't be surprised if Hampton's probably RB2 in most teams' eyes. Damn. Marcus Yarns 4.48, yeah. 4.4 I think is pretty solid for Yarns. I mean, he's the guy that moves on tape though. I'm about to make a video on him and he's just like gliding past people. You want a day 3 explosive back that also has some receiver ability. There. You guys have any questions? Any specific questions? More about today, tomorrow, yesterday, or just anything, doesn't have to be related to the combine. Things we can talk about. I kind of went over all the main stuff, and we're kind of seeing the running backs test right now, but I kind of talked about most of the safeties I wanted to talk about, the tight ends. I'm going to definitely be making some film breakdowns on some of these guys in the coming days. I find more film on everyone, and a lot of people are watching the combine. Like, they're there live. He's trying to record. I thought they were just going to cut away before he could even get to it. Okay, well. Unless there's anything more, I'm probably going to end it here because I don't really have too much more to talk about until, I guess the receivers would test, but that's, I think, a while away. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Favorite position group to watch, okay. In these drills or just like overall, because what kind of pick do we get for Holland? Like comp pick? It depends how much he would sign for and if we canceled it out with another free agent signing. So but favorite position group to watch, like film wise, probably receivers, DBs, because I played receiver, defensive back. I do really like to watch. I like to watch the big guys. Do these drills though. It's pretty fun. Drills probably the big guys, and safeties. I like to see how they move. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.